Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to touch on a very sensitive topic that I've been asked from the ladies in my community to address, and it's about sexual abuse within the family home. Now, there are plenty of people that I know and people that have come to me for coaching that have experienced sexual abuse by a family member or a family friend in their younger years within their homes. And a very common theme was that the whole situation was brushed under the carpet. It was something that we were told basically to stay silent about what had happened. And in a lot of the cases, the person that was molesting or sexually abusing this young person ends up staying in and around the family circle, and it has absolutely no consequences to them at all whatsoever. And I really think this comes from the fact that we do live in a shame culture. We rather hide from the truth than deal with the shame that we believe we're going to be exposed to within our social circles. We're so insecure and our self-esteem is on the floor that we believe that things like this being revealed puts shame on us. Now, I find it quite interesting because we've moved along quite a lot in the generations, but it doesn't stop the victim blaming element of this whole issue. You know, it's like we come across news all the time of women being raped in India and Pakistan, and straight away they are the ones that are blamed. The way you were dressing, the way you were talking, the way you were behaving, you obviously invited this kind of abuse. And I believe this trickles over into paedophilia and molestation. And it's such a shame because a lot of these children have grown up repressed sexually, confused sexually, and they know and they felt that their home is not a safe place. And we know from all the research and exposure that we have on social media now that if a child doesn't feel safe, it directly affects the way that they operate in this world. If you weren't able to feel safe at home with your own parents, where else were you going to feel safe? And it's very interesting because I've had my own brushes and experiences with this kind of thing. And an example has come to me and I remembered it. So there was a girl that I knew at school, and we used to go to each other's houses a lot. And they had a visitor coming in from abroad. And they had 4 daughters in the house, the wife and the dad. And at night, before they went to bed, the father would lock the living room door of where the guest was staying. And I thought, oh, that's a bit weird, locking him in the living room. And he said, no, he's a man and I have 4 daughters and I'm not willing to take any risks. And being a young girl, hearing that, thinking to myself, I don't think I've ever heard anyone else say such a thing. And a lot of the times when these kind of things were exposed within the family or within people I knew, etc., it was immediately silenced. And that little kid was basically told, like, oh, don't worry about it, it was nothing, we'll deal with it. And then very next day or the very next week, that same person is coming over for dinner. And this is just one example of the lack of consequences that, you know, especially men face in our community. They can get away with whatever it is they want to do because they know people are too afraid to be shamed themselves. They'll never expose me because inadvertently they're exposing themselves and what they allowed to happen to them. And I find victim blaming and shaming quite an interesting psychological concept because when it happens when you're young, you internalize this. And then anything terrible that happens to you or in and around you, you've automatically framed it as in it is your fault. So you grow up blaming yourself for so many other things because it's now become a part of your psyche. And I think we need to definitely, you know, call these people out. But I also think we live in a generation where people are no longer staying silent. And when they realize, hold on, this injustice happened to me, I'm going to speak about it. This is why this generation is seen as the generation of rebellion. Because simply standing up for your rights and standing up for what's right is seen as such a rebellious act in the South Asian community. And it's funny because a majority of us are Muslims, and to stand up to oppression and stand for what's right is a duty for every Muslim. What part in our teachings, where did the flaw occur? Where we flipped the script around to how we should deal with people that are operating in such disgusting ways in our society. And now we are fortunate enough to have access not only to education, but things like social media. And we have so many more resources now where these victims have places to go, places to discuss this horrific acts that happened to them. And this is just a shout out to any parents that have actually brushed any of this kind of abuse under the carpet for their children. I know that there's an element of you that believes that what you did was right by brushing it under the carpet and not addressing it. But I'm here to tell you that the long-term consequences of you not fiercely protecting your child like a lion and a lioness leads to that adult growing up with psychological defaults that they can't even pinpoint, and it leads to multiple different mistakes, mental health issues, and even confusion around their own sexuality. And when they get to a certain age and they're not able to settle down or hold on to a relationship or hold on to a job, or they're victims of depression, they have anxiety, we're first in line to criticize them. Oh, they haven't achieved this, they haven't done that, what happened? But actually we don't look at the root cause of the situation. And not making your child feel safe and them being molested or abused within their own homes when they were living under your roof is a deep form of neglect. So if you guys have anything else you want me to discuss about on this topic, or anything you want me to expand on, please comment below and we can deep dive into this topic a lot more, because I genuinely believe that these things need addressing in order for our mental and emotional health to improve within our communities. And it's time to prioritize Islamic values and tradition, which is basically holding these people accountable and punishing them to the severest degree, not ignoring them and allowing them to get away with their perverted behavior and do it to however many other children they seem fit to do so.